Hi, part 3 of this last lecture. Right, assignments 2 and 3. So this is a recap of what we've said before about the taster interview. So there are 6 jobs up on Moodle. See the assessment tab, and then you've got to pick one of those and write your cover letter to cover that. And then you submit your cover letter, CV, and employer awareness report for that firm, of course, as one document by 1 p.m. On Monday of week 8, and it's got to be done by then because we can't let you have a week's grace period or something, because the interviews have to be organised. We need to know what job you're applying for, so you've got to have done that by the Monday of week 8. Of course, we don't actually assess you on that CL, CV, and employer awareness report in assignment 2. Assignment 2 is just about the marks for it, the 20%, and just about the interview. So the interviews, of course, will take place in weeks 8, 9, and 10. So that's later on that week is the first lot of students who will be interviewed. And the format of the interviews is that you're interviewed in your groups of 4 by one tutor who will play the role of the lead interviewer, and you actually get an interview of only 5 minutes. It's the first 5 minutes of the interview, likely to be the gentlest part, but then gradually the questions got a little bit harder, and then we stop at a certain point, and you're observed by your other group members, team members, and then you get a chance to observe them as well. And so you see it from both sides of the table. Now, assignment 3, the task there, and I want you to read what it says in the module handbook very closely, as well as looking at the marking grids and so on. What we want you to do is to re-upload the same cover letter, CV, and employer awareness report that you submitted for assignment 2. Don't change them. And then add to this, put them all in one document, and then add to it a reflective report and a personal development plan. And then put on the front of it a title page on one page and an automatically generated contents page to follow that, so that we can then see all the bits of your report. Okay, but you can't write the reflective report and personal development plan until you've had the interview. So please don't submit 3 or 5 documents. It's just one document that includes everything that we've asked for. And submit this document onto Moodle by 1 o'clock on the 7th of December. What to do when you get those rejection letters? Reflection and resilience, yes. The golden rule, of course, is don't take it personally. It feels very personal, but remember, of course, what we said weeks 2 and 4. The recruiters were probably doing their job, what they thought was in the best interest of the organisation. They could be wrong, but, they did get to see all the candidates, and they do know the firm and its wants and needs better than you do. So, they've got some qualifications for making the judgment they did, even if you think that they've made the wrong one, but you didn't see all the others' candidates. And then we come back to this reflecting honestly. So as well, looking at your note that you wrote afterwards, think, did I make any mistakes? Did I? And don't feel guilty if you did as good a job as you could have done, as anyone could have done. You can't make, if you lose the job to somebody who's got, another 3 years worth of experience in this area, well, that you could never invent that or something like that. I'm afraid you were always going to lose. You didn't know that they were applying for the job, and so on. So don't beat yourself up for things which you can't do anything about. But reflect on whether you perhaps need to change some bits or change your target applications and so on. And maybe change some of your job search criteria. Now, in assignment 3, the reflection and personal development plan are the novel part about it. So, in your reflection, List your career capital. So that's something that we covered in week 1. Your core skills and capabilities that you want, and reflect honestly on what you have as well, your networks and so on. Reflect honestly on what you've learned so far at Brooks, and particularly in this module. So don't just focus on the interview and what went right and wrong, that's a part of it, but it's also everything else, what went on in the group work and everything else that you've learned, hopefully, in this module, or the way that your attitudes have changed, and then fit that into also what you've learned since being a university graduate. But you've got to compress it down into the word limit that's specified. And, if things have gone wrong, admit it. This is the place where you can be honest, right, in a reflection. So, in this kind of thing, true learning begins with you being honest about yourself. And then for the personal development plan, you should complete the skills matrix and the personal development plan, and see the week 10 tab, I think it is, for what we've got in the on skills matrix and PDP, and outline an 18-month plan from now until when you graduate, for how to fill in the gaps. That's 18 months if you're going to not do a placement year. If you're going to do a placement year, include that, and then think again. You still plan 18 months ahead, but maybe you can go another 12 months beyond that as well. And I don't know if you've heard the phrase being smart. If not, look up what that is. But that refers to the kind of goals and objectives and milestones that you should set yourself. So don't use lots and lots of words. There is a table for a personal development plan, and try to be as specific as possible, and then convey what you mean in the table with just a few words. Be really honest and compare yourself with people who have been at work, perhaps, but may not have a degree or further qualifications. Are your Excel skills really better than somebody who's been working with Excel for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for 2 years? I'd rather doubt it. So think about that. Also be specific and realistic. It's no good saying, oh, well, I'm going to learn Chinese, I'm going to learn Mandarin in 3 months. Really? It's a very difficult language for Europeans to learn. And, after 3 months, if you're also doing something like a job, which is the day job, you'd be very lucky if you've learned enough Mandarin to do anything more than hold a very rudimentary conversation. So be objective and specific, set down dates, smart markers, e.g., I will get a precise, 2-1 in international finance. That bit, and I will do it by May 2022. Okay, that's a very specific goal to set down for yourself, and then just put it down there. Remember that no one's going to review it except you. So, you can give yourself a stretch goal, but above all, I would say go for a realistic goal. So overall, from week 7, our conclusion for assignment 2: be positive. Go in convincing that you really want this job. And before that, practice. Think of all the questions you could be asked, and then think about the answers, and then refine your answers. Practice your vignettes so that you don't tell stories that last longer than about 90 seconds at the most. You might need a friend to tell you when you're up to 60 seconds and 90 seconds. If it's a real job interview, prepare well in advance. And practice 3 days ahead, 2 days ahead, 1 day ahead. And then also, you won't know on the day whether you've got the job or not, so stay positive and just carry on hitting your numbers, and that way you've got some chance of hitting the requisite numbers to get the right number of interviews and the right number of interviews to get a job. And think of assignment 3 as a more reflective and bit where you comment on yourself. You almost sort of stand outside yourself and say, okay, well, when I started this course, I felt like this and I thought like that, and then how much have I changed? And particularly, were there any difficult moments? This is the time to be honest. So you don't admit difficult weaknesses on a CV or in a cover letter. Never do that in those things because you're in selling mode. But here, where we are acting as your counsellors, is exactly the place to be more honest and say, yeah, well, that didn't go so right. And that, of course, is when you start to learn, is when you're honest and think, that didn't go quite as I imagined it, then you're starting to learn some tough lessons about these so-called soft skills. And then you find that the soft skills, in fact, aren't very soft at all. They're actually really tough and really hard to do. Remember in the skills matrix to compare yourself to other people who've been perhaps employed for a couple of years. And in your personal development plan, be specific about your plans for self-improvement. So I think that just about wraps it up for week 7. I hope you've enjoyed these lectures, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.